Hello and welcome to Tales from the Midnight Diary, my normally weekly podcast about all the goings on behind the scenes of an independent hand dyers in Kent. My name's Gemma, I am the dyer, designer, tutor and everythinger basically behind the Midnight Diary, formerly known as the Project Bag, and here on this channel you'll find all sorts of things from tips, tricks, tutorials to this normally weekly podcast where I share all the goings on, all the things that I have been making both for the Midnight Diary and for myself over the past week or so. If you are a new viewer, thank you very much for checking out the podcast. It is absolutely lovely to meet you. I hope to get to know you in the comments down below and possibly on our Facebook group. Maybe you'll even consider joining one of my 2 weekly sip and stitch sessions, a Wednesday night or a coffee morning on a Sunday morning. For those of you who have come back, thank you. I have to beg pardon once again for my prolonged absence. I took a weekend off for my for Easter and then came back, and then the following weekend was my birthday, so I took that weekend off too, and then I've disappeared for a while. I'll explain a little bit more about that a bit later on in the show. I have no finished objects for those of you that might expect them. New viewers, I should probably say that all the places you can find me, all the bits of community I mentioned just then, you can just find in the description box just down below, as well as my website and access to my newsletter and patterns and things like that. This is a podcast where I primarily talk about anything to do with fibre art, so knitting and crochet predominantly, but also share things behind the scenes for yarn dyeing, etc. This has become a very waffly introduction. You can tell I've had a few weeks off. Anyway, I'm back, kind of, looking probably a bit pale and interesting. I'll come on to that towards the end of the podcast if you should care to listen, but in the meantime we'll crack on with the creative content. First of all, a huge thank you as well to everyone who has been taking part in the Midnight Make-Along. This is my very first make-along, which is specifically designed to celebrate the Midnight Dyery yarns, or the Project Bag yarns, you know, if you bought from me before I rebranded, and patterns. So to take part, all you need to do is have a project which at least 50% of the yarn used is the Midnight Dyery or Project Bag, or you can use one of my patterns, which there are quite a few free ones available, or there are some paid ones as well, and you can find those by following the links just down below. I'm going to start off with a slideshow of some of the things that you have been making. What's been really popular are my sock patterns and my new merino and tencel base, which I launched this March or February. I launched it when I did my rebrand anyway, and it is proving incredibly popular. So I will let you watch that, and I'll see you back here in just a sec. I cannot begin to tell you what it means to me as a small business owner and artist, if I can call myself that, to see my yarns and patterns being worked up. It absolutely blows me away every single time. So thank you to everyone who's supported me so far, and thank you for your fabulous makes. Now, not to be left out, I have been working in my new merino tencel base myself. For the first few years of running this business, I didn't really knit much in my own yarns. I had some socks whipped up by my friend Amy on her circular sock machine for my first show, and I have some fantastic people who I do consider firm friends who made some samples for me as well, but I've not knit with my own yarns because it felt a little bit self-indulgent and a bit like stealing. However, I had resolved to work more in my own yarns this year because it is not stealing. And even if I was feeling a bit wobbly about that resolution, my new base has completely changed my attitude. I just can't resist it. I created a shawl, first of all, back in February. And then in March, I cast on. No, I've dropped stitches. No. Okay, there is a crisis going on. All these stitches should be on this stitch holder. I'm not going to stop and fix it now. I'm going to be incredibly brave or possibly stupid and try and just talk to you all about this project, and then I'll try and fix it afterwards. I've also left it in the middle of the row, but I can't realistically finish the row either without without ruining like the knitting even more and dropping more stitches. Anyway, this here is the Birdwatcher tee by Casapinka. I came across Casapinka as a designer last year when I was gifted one of her fabulous colourwork patterns by my lovely friend Jo. And so I had 3 skeins of this colourway, which is called Purple Rain. And I wanted something that could be a top for me that I could get out of the 3 skeins. Now the merino tencel is actually a heavier yarn than my normal 4-ply base, which is merino and nylon. The tencel itself is actually made from crushed wood pulp, so it's a sustainable fibre, which is really exciting. Oh God, I've also had a pull as well. Oh, this has gone really well. This is what happens when you neglect your knitting for a day or so. I'm gonna have to try and fix that later as well. Anyway, it's a really simple tee worked in the round bottom up, and you start with the lace edging, which is lace you might tend to think of as typically being holy, and obviously this one isn't particularly holy. It's more like a feather and fan style. It creates these really fun waves, and then it's worked in plain stocking stitch until you separate for the front and back. So I whizzed through this, and last time I spoke to you, I very grandly said, I'll be wearing this next time. People who've known me for a long time will not be surprised that it's still on the needles. However, I have a very good excuse. I've actually been quite unwell for the last few weeks, and my get up and go has just got up and gone. However, sitting here holding this now and stabbing myself in the neck with a needle, I just want to work on it again. So we shall see what happens. I've done quite a lot. I'm actually on the shaping for the shoulders. I've done quite a lot of this since you separate for front and back. I'm onto the short row shaping, and I seem to have abandoned it in the middle of a row as well. But yeah, so that is that. I'm doing the 4th size, I think. And the reason I had to be really careful with the pattern I chose is because, as I was saying, it's a heavier base, so the meterage per 100 grams is less. So my typical base, merino nylon, will have 425 meters per 100 grams, whereas this only has 333. And I felt the same when I saw the meterage. I thought, is this really going to be worth it? But oh my gosh, the drape and the bounce and the luster of this yarn, I've fallen completely in love with it, and it seems like you have too, judging by how quickly they are selling out in my shop updates. So again, huge thank you for that. Yeah, so I'm going to put this down very gently so I don't lose all of these stitches. Can you see? They're all loose. They're all just hanging there. I know there's going to be some of you sort of sit there gripping your chairs going, oh my God, Gemma, just pick them up, just pick them up. I think you've officially seen it all now on this podcast, haven't you? But yeah, that's my first project that I have been working on. Now, I have no idea if I am re-showing you something from a previous podcast. I toyed with the idea of watching the last one back, and then I don't like watching myself. I find the premieres kind of uncomfortable as it is. It's just nice to chat with you live when the podcast premiere on YouTube. I don't know if I've shown you this already, but I am actually on section 4 of my Slipstravaganza, which is bright and joyous and wonderful. I only did the plain rows, and then I waited because my lovely friend Julia, who you will know as Jules, said, wait for me and we'll do it together. So I did. And then as soon as she was ready, she was like, can we start now? I'm like, no, I'm not ready now. You just have to wait. Oh, honestly, friends, hey. She is an absolute darling, so I'm looking forward to getting started on that. However, I need brain space to do this. I don't have brain space at the minute. I have been going to bed as early as 7:45. I was up until 9:20 last night, and it genuinely felt like I'd gone out clubbing or something. I was like, oh, this is so super late. yeah, so not touch that really. All of these are in Project Bag Yarns colourways. Myra is one of my signature colourways that will be coming back. Exotic I just love, and Song of the Sea is also one that will be coming back. Purple Party as well is going to be returning. The only yarn in here that isn't mine is the Debbie Bliss Angel, which is a fine lace weight mohair style yarn. Not itchy. Let's show you the yarns in their glory. So the idea with this shawl is that you have two of your contrast colours play together, and so they need to stripe and kind of go together. And then one is always only on its own with, of course, the main colour. So because this has got bits of pink and purple in, this actually works quite well. Okay, brief interruption for my order from Chester Wool. I haven't had a shop update for a couple of weeks, but I'm actually going to have one hopefully at the end of May. So I'll talk a bit more about that in a few minutes. Right, where was I? My next one. Now I have a hoe, also known to the uninitiated. So the uninitiated, a hoe is a half object, typically used when we're talking about socks or things that we need two of, which I suppose gloves would be the other one. I'm not sure if there are any others. One thing never changes, I'm always yawning. This is the Peacock colourway in West Yorkshire Spinners Signature 4-ply, which is my absolute favourite commercial sock yarn. Now, I'm going to admit something. The first time I used this, I was really unimpressed. I did it on a size 3 needle, which is what's recommended. But I didn't know that much about my own gauge at that point, or my own tension when I was knitting, and I'm a really loose knitter. However, after a bit of trial and error, I eventually found that on the 2.5mm needle, I got a gauge that really worked for me. Now, you might remember I made my dad some rainbow socks for Christmas. Or were they his birthday? I think he got them on his birthday. Anyway, he was so overjoyed with them, and he's incredibly knit-worthy. So of course I had to collect lots of brightly coloured sock yarn from West Yorkshire Spinners to make him some more. So next on the needles, once I've done this one, I keep leaving my sock needles at work, which is really silly of me. You'd think I'd have lots of pairs, but I use the Symphonies, which are wooden. They're laminated birch, I think. They're really, really lovely, but I do tend to snap them. I'm very clumsy. Sorry, Magnus is in a real grump today. He's just growling at everyone. Please ignore him if you can hear him. But yeah, this one is called Kingfisher. And I think I've also got Tequila Sunrise, which is one of my favourite colourways, and Blue Lagoon. So there's going to be lots of brightly coloured socks in my dad's future. I can get 2 pairs of socks out of one of these balls, and these are $7.20 a ball, I think. They might have gone up. They might be $7.50 a ball. Can't remember. I can normally get 2 pairs of socks. So 2 pairs of hand knit socks for £7.50. Ain't bad. With my dad's socks, they're significantly longer than mine. To put it into context, my socks end here, pretty much. So you've got all that much extra knitting. So yeah. Anyway, I really like it. I always knit my socks top down. I've not yet mastered toe up. I had a go, but looking at the cast on just basically made my brain go, no! I'm one of these people that is really nervous of trying new things because I convince myself it's going to be a disaster before I even try it. And so then I just put it off. I procrastinate not through laziness, but through anxiety and fear, and I'm trying to combat that. However, I love my top-down recipe, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm actually going to write this as a recipe and pop it on my website and on my PayHip store. So you will be able to have that for yourselves as well. It forms the basis of most of my sock patterns. Yeah, don't ask me when it's going to happen, but it'll happen. Now, having gone for quite some time without casting anything new on, obviously my jumper being the exception. And socks don't count because you always need socks on the needles. The week after my birthday, I had a phone call from my little brother. I do actually have a little brother. And occasionally, we're not super close as siblings, but you know, we are there for each other, and occasionally he will call me, and it tends to be something monumental. So I think the last time he called me before this was, he didn't call me, he just surprised me. Anyway, he's engaged, which is fun. And this time he called me and told me that I'm going to be an auntie again, which is just amazing. So knowing that my brother and his fiancée are, I suppose people would say alternative, but that is definitely not a criticism. And I knew straight away what I wanted to make. I'm making a honeycomb baby blanket, and this is only a very small sized blanket. I normally make blankets much bigger than this. And I'm doing it in black with grey over the front. Now the little one in question is actually due, sorry, there's something going on with the phone. The little one in question is actually due end of October, so winter colours. And I just thought this is perfect for over a car seat. It's actually come out a lot darker than I was expecting, which I know sounds really bizarre. It's like, Jem, you're using black and grey, what do you expect? But I really love it. It's a slip stitch design, which is actually very similar to, sorry, there's something going on with his phone. I use an old phone of Alan's to record on because it's got the best memory. However, it's old, and at the moment it keeps telling me, I'm not working, but it's letting me record. So as long as it's doing that, I'm just going to carry on. I've got no idea what you can see because there's a big sign across the screen now. Anyway, it's a honeycomb pattern, very similar to the honeycombs in the Slipstravaganza. I'm pointing down to it down there, you know, super helpfully. And it just uses two colours. I'm carrying up the yarns up the side, so I haven't got too many ends to sew in. And I really like it. I'm working this in Debbie Bliss Falkland Merino Aran, which, as far as I'm aware, you can now only get online. There are some in the Yarn Dispensary shop, which obviously you can get on their website as well. But other than that, I think it's the Debbie Bliss yarn range is, I think, entirely to be found on Love Crafts. It is super squishy. It's really super soft. Falkland Merino is one of the finest in the world. And yeah, so this is that blanket. I cast on immediately. I found out, pretty much. I went into work the very next day. I was like, guess what? I'm going to be an auntie. I'm casting on a blanket. This is very exciting. So yeah, I really, really love it, and I hope they will too. They don't watch this, so there's no spoilers here. And that really is it for creative endeavours. I started my 100-day project again, God, about 4 weeks ago now. Excuse me. But it coincided with me returning to work, and it coincided with a number of my health problems that have raised their heads over the last wee while. So when I'm not at work, I'm too tired to do anything. And when I've been at work and come home, it's too dark, even if I've got any energy. Although the evenings are getting longer. So the cross stitch will return. What else? I've got lots of whips. I'm just not working on anything. I haven't actually knit in the last, well, apart from that blanket I made a start on, I haven't really knit or crocheted in the last several weeks. I think the last time I did any crochet was on my granny stripe blanket. Alan and I went for a picnic on my birthday. It was my birthday, so I was going to milk it. Alan hates eating outdoors. It's just something about the flies and just being outside. It's just something that really he doesn't enjoy. But the weather was so lovely, and we've got this gorgeous country park near us, and it's great for a walk, and I just wanted to be outdoors, and so I asked if we could go for a picnic. And he said yes, and it was so lovely. And for a while we were just, he was lying on the picnic blanket after we ate, went for a walk, and then came back and lay on the picnic blanket again. And I got my granny stripe out and started working on that, and it was utter bliss. And then Magnus got stung on the nose by a bee. So we had to come home. Magnus, for those of you who don't know, is my puppy, although he's a dog now, really. He's going to be 2 in August. I don't know how that's happened. But yeah, that's it. I've been reading a lot. I used to read voraciously as a child. I would happily trot upstairs after dinner just to read until lights out. And yeah, I again haven't really read much in the last few years. I started to get back into reading a bit when I was poorly, and then after Lara died, it took me a while, but I just started to gently read some things again, but I wasn't reading to the level I was before. However, I seem to have gone into blether, into the kind of life stuff. So just come with me. We're off. Let's go. I often think it's pointless. I did them for a while. I had the kind of section cards on the podcast when you know what section it is we're going to talk about. But I don't think there's really any point. I'm very much a stream of consciousness kind of person, and my kids, when I was a teacher, were always like, we never know where we're going to end up with you, miss, because I would just go off and we'd start in one bit of literature and we'd do a magical mystery tour and eventually come back to where we started from, always hopefully for an educational purpose. But yeah, that's just me. Anyway, I've gone on to life stuff, and in explaining that, we've gone on a bit of a magical mystery tour with things you didn't really need to know and probably don't care about. What was I talking about? Oh, reading. My friend Jackie, who was my booth buddy at Perth Festival of Yarn 2019, the Shaggy Horny Cow Lady, as some of you know her, was having a clear out of books, kind of enforced through lockdown. I think lots of people have had clear outs, haven't they? And she has the entire collection of Agatha Raisin books by MC Beaton. Now, Agatha Raisin is a middle-aged, kind of acerbic, a little bit, you kind of love her, but she's a bit of a cow. She's definitely flawed, which is really lovely. In a world where everyone is held up as sort of paragons of virtue. Yeah, they're just really easy reading detective stories set in the Cotswolds. They were written in the 90s and early noughties. I mean, actually, she was writing right up until her death last year. So it spans like 30 years, and certainly some of the fashions and attitudes are from 30 years ago. There are so many chauvinist misogynists in these books. It's like, whoa, how did we used to accept this? And yeah, it was... Anyway, I started reading them just after my birthday, so on like the 19th or 20th of April. We are now on the 5th of May. Yeah, that's right, because yesterday was May the 4th and everyone was going, May the 4th be with you. And I'm on book 20. So in just over 2 weeks, or just under 3 weeks, I'm basically reading a book a day, or just over a book a day, while going to work and walking the dog and doing other things. So yeah, I've been doing lots of reading. But yeah, have I got anything else created to show you? Oh, talking about birthday, I've got some really cool things to share. I was very spoiled for my birthday. My friends are just the kindest people. One of the absolute delights was seeing the lovely Sophie Swan, who had come to visit her mum. Oh look, there's Blue Lagoon. There's Blue Lagoon. My dad's socks. And I was utterly spoiled with parcels and goodies. So among other things, I had a box of P's famous brownies. P is a friend who I have met through my Sip and Stitch nights. It was one of her New Year's resolutions to meet new people, which in a pandemic is not easy. But she decided to join, and she's just this incredible baker. I think I first really became aware of her as a person, which sounds really awful. Obviously, if I don't know people who I'm shipping things to, customers who order things from me, you have to put up with me pressing these buttons. It takes a couple of repeat orders and I get a sense of who they are and what they like. But I first became aware of her as a person, like on social media, when she posted the cupcakes that she'd made from my Christmas Eve box 2020, obviously. The years are getting really confusing. This pandemic has just really muddled things. When I was very ill with depression back in 2017, I lost basically 6 months and was convinced, like in October, that the summer holidays were just around the corner, because I just hadn't been there. I hadn't been sort of present in the world. And it kind of feels a bit like that with the pandemic. We've kind of lost a year somehow. I'm very grateful to still be here, don't get me wrong, but what it does to your brain in terms of sort of time and space awareness is very bizarre. Anyway, she sent me a box of brownies, which was just amazing. She's yeah, she's a fantastic like baker. So one of my friends, Laura, I'm not going to show everything I got for my birthday, but just a couple of bits that happen to be sitting here. So if I'm not showing off something that you sent me, please don't take it personally. It's just not right here. Laura sent me 200 more crochet stitches, knowing that I really want to up my crochet game, particularly my crochet design game, which I love. There are fantastic tutorials here. You're shown where to stick your hook. You've got the chart. You've got the written instructions. It's really, really cool and exciting. Most of my stitch dictionaries for crochet are ancient. And then I'm going to put my thumb over a word here. She sent me this wee little project bag, which may become my new notions pouch. I'm not sure. It might be a sock bag. I'm going to put my thumb over a word, but this is cool. This is so cool. I think the pandemic has caused lots of us to kind of doubt ourselves, question ourselves. I suffer hugely from imposter syndrome. I know that I'm probably talking to people who understand exactly what I'm talking about here. But yeah, and finally, I have started playing Dungeons and Dragons with my friends. Sophie Swan is our DM, and a bunch of us meet up on a Monday night via Zoom, and we're having adventures. I've had to pull out at the moment because of my ill health, meaning basically it's 8 o'clock on a Monday evening and I'm often not awake by 8 o'clock on a Monday evening. Case in point, I was feeling great like this Monday and fell asleep and missed it. So I've pulled out, but Laura sent me my very own Dungeons and Dragons dice, and they're so pretty. It's pure escapism. It's when I was told it was role play, I freaked out. I hate role play. I can't do it. I actually walked out of a classroom when another teacher was asking me to do some role play for the kids. I just walked out. I could not do it. I can't do it. I just freeze. But there's something about this in the safety of with friends, and it's just pure escapism in a time where the world is really, really real right now. So yeah, that's great. And Sophie also gifted me some D&D dice, which is really exciting. If I'm sort of looking, it's because there's this big thing across my screen, and I'm hoping that the screen isn't recording it, because otherwise most of this podcast is naff and needs re-recording. But yeah, but she also gave me one of her beautiful crocheted dragon egg D&D pouch thingies for me to keep my dice in, which is just so exciting. So yeah, at the moment I've kept them all in the box that it came in. Sophie gifted it to me. So yeah, thank you so much for all the well wishes for my birthday. Coming up, it's almost the last chance to order the June cozy box, and I think I've mentioned this before. Last time I designed both the knit and the crochet pattern. This time I have outsourced the crochet pattern to a new designer she's a new kid on the block. She's fantastic. It is none other than Sophie Swan. And she is going to be designing the crochet pattern. I've designed the knitting pattern, and you have just 3 more weeks to pre-order the June cozy box. So if you want something cozy, a surprise skein of yarn, that you choose one of 3 colourways. You know it's either going to be earth tones, flowery tones, or sky tones. With some fantastic extras from other artisans and 2 patterns for the yarn, then you need to head over to my website and purchase that now. I haven't really got anything else much to talk about. Oh, it's been quite a quick one. I hurt my back last week and I've been advised not to walk my dog on my own because my back is not in a good way, and he isn't terribly pulley, but occasionally he does jar me. And so he's started going with a dog walker, who I was so upset when he had to go. When the first time he went, I shut the door and sobbed. I was like, Mum, let my baby go with a near enough stranger. He had a wonderful time, and he's been again since and had another wonderful time, and he's now fast asleep. So that's cool. I'm not going to witter on about my health issues because I know lots of people have issues far worse than mine. Suffice to say that my biggest one at the moment is that my iron stores, not my hemoglobin, but my iron stores, wherever they are, bone marrow or something, aren't they, have basically plummeted. And that has left me incredibly drained and suffering with chronic fatigue. So I am on loads of medication trying to sort that out. I am having loads of blood tests to make sure my blood doesn't turn sticky. And so basically I feel like a pincushion at the moment, and I've just got to take it easy. And that's why I've not been back so far. I'm starting to feel a bit better, so hopefully I'll be back again next week. Anyway, I've completely forgotten where I was before the camera informed me that I'd been talking for too long and was not going to listen to me anymore. Yeah, I'm not going to apologise for the lack of creative content this week, or this month even, because I don't know, really. I don't know. Sometimes it just happens this way. We can't all be productive at our chosen craft all the time. There are other things in life as well. So yeah, what else has been going on, really? I did a Ask Me Anything. Hang on. Let's have a look at the question. Okay, so what knit are you most proud of? Oh, I don't know. I think it depends. I'm really proud of my first ever pair of socks, because there's something just purely magical about turning that heel, and you're knitting a tube going that way and then suddenly it's going that way and you've got a visible heel. It's like witchcraft. It's a bit of magic. I'm also really proud of my first colour work, particularly the colour work jumper I did for Magnus, which has sadly now been shrunk. With regards to designs, I'm really proud of the Lara's Legacy socks for obvious reasons. Also really proud of the Spring Fling scarflet, which just blew me away with its popularity. It's just been mad. I think the thing is with my knitting is I'm probably most proud of whatever it is that I'm doing at the time that's a new skill or something I thought I couldn't do. I talked a little bit earlier about how I would rather not do something than do it and fail, which is classic fixed mindset and definitely not the way to be, and I'm working on this. It's gonna stop me having a lot of adventures if I keep fixating on that. So yeah, I mean, I'm really proud of the Stephen West, the shawl that I'm doing, because I've never done one and it looked really complicated and it's using colours that I wouldn't normally put together and it's huge, and yeah, I'm really proud of it. I'm really proud of my birdwatcher tee because that's in my own yarn. I'm just proud of it all. I think if there had to be like a highlight of my creative career, then yeah, it's going to be the Lara's Legacy socks, hands down, always, because nothing is ever going to beat your child, basically. Yeah, and seeing so many people make it and being able to donate so much to Lara's Legacy. I need to go back and sort of look at how many we've sold this year. Sales are really, really slowing down of the Lara's Legacy socks, so I probably need to push it a bit more. I've got other patterns coming out in the collection later this year. Hopefully, we shall see. So obviously it's been 2 years now since I released it. Sales are slowing down, so I'm just every few months checking the sales and then making a payment to the charity, but it's done incredibly well, which is really exciting. Let's have a look at some other questions. What knit are you most proud of? Let's turn it round on you. You tell me in the comments below. Lona says, are you okay? I am okay, thank you. Yeah, as I said before, I'm suffering from really low iron. And there's some other things going on in the background that I won't bore you with. And it just means that I've got to listen to my body a bit more. In fact, I don't have to listen. I'm not being given a choice. I will literally come home from work and it feels like someone is sitting on me and pushing me down. I literally cannot stay upright any longer, have to lie down straight asleep. The hardest thing is not napping, because if I don't get a nap in around lunchtime, then if I nap any later, I'm not going to get to sleep, or I'm going to sleep badly that night. But I am okay. Oh, Jess is sending me hugs, thank you. And what picture are you colouring? So Laura got me this amazing Thomas Kincaid colouring book for Christmas, and I just this week treated myself to some new colouring pencils from Amazon. Yeah, sorry. We all do it. We all want to shop local and shop small, and I do try to wherever possible. However, sometimes you just want something and you don't have the opportunity to go out and get it, so Amazon. Anyway, we all do it. Oh, I hope we all do it. I think we all do it. Anyway, I haven't actually started colouring any pictures yet. It's still a blank page. Blank pages are terrifying. I'm not going to edit this today. I would usually record on a Sunday and edit on a Sunday and get it out on a Sunday night after having hosted coffee morning. At the moment, that's not happening. This is Wednesday, and I'm probably not going to edit it until tomorrow because the fatigue is hitting. So I may not even edit it until the weekend, so you might not see this until Sunday, and to you it will be like I'm recording on my normal day. Going forward, I'm probably going to record and edit on a Monday, because now I'm back at the shop, my day job. I manage a yarn shop, and that takes me out on Saturdays, and so Sunday is the only day I get with my husband, and obviously the morning's taken up with coffee morning, which I love. But if the afternoon and evening are taking up with podcasting, basically I don't get any time with him at all during the week. So I think I'm going to move it to a Monday. But certainly for the next few weeks anyway, I don't think I'm going to necessarily have a regular schedule. So the best thing to do is to hit the little bell icon on the YouTube thing. I don't know, it's somewhere down here. And yeah, then it will let you know when I upload a new video. Other videos are going to be coming back as well. 2-Minute Tuesdays, tutorials. I've just got to sort of ease myself into it and see how I go. Luckily, the 2-Minute Tuesdays are quite quick to record and edit. So I'm hoping, you know, maybe Monday. Because yeah, I don't think I'll be, if I'm recording now and don't get this up till Sunday, then I'm more than likely won't record again on Monday. So maybe on Monday I'll do a batch of 2-Minute Tuesdays and things like that. We shall see. We shall see. Anyway, I am in danger of just waffling on about nothing in particular. Can't think of anything particular that I needed to tell you that I haven't. I know I mentioned a few weeks ago there's going to be all sorts of make-alongs happening. At the moment, I'm just going to stick with the Midnight make-along, and we will see how things go. Because yeah, this brain is a bit fried. There's not a lot going on in there. It's just sort of mush at the minute, as you can tell by the fact I'm waffling on, and I've said a few times now that I'm going to stop talking, and yet here I am still talking. Oh, I hope you are well. I hope you are enjoying the sunshine and being able to mix in groups of 6 if you are able to, if you're in an area that allows that. I hope your mojos haven't abandoned you, and I will see you next time for another chat. Thank you very, very much for joining me. Take care. Bye. Just realised, totally forgot to share the fact that the Slip and Stitch Night and Coffee Morning have been chatted about in Knit Now magazine in the community pages, which is so exciting. And I'm really excited to welcome some new members tonight, although it won't be tonight when you watch this.